Eye for an Eye, written by Andrew Adams and narrated by Chadwick Polson.
Sisters, commence!
Their bustling slows as a thin breeze whistles through branches, dropping dead leaves on their location. A fire blazes mightily at the center of the clearing.
Do any of you wish to share this evening?
One hand raises quickly before the others have a chance.
Sister Margaret,
please. Priestess Elizabeth backs away from the wooden podium, moving so smoothly to appear as floating.
Sisters, tonight I come forward to ask of thee, Margaret. It is not the 1600s anymore. We must adapt with the common folk. It is an entirely new century. Yes, it is. Ahem. Sisters, it has. It has.
The priestess corrects.
Thank you. It has come to my attention that many of you have not been cleaning out your cauldrons properly. The stench of moldy toad gizzards and pickled devil's dung has taken permanent residence inside my nostrils. So, just try to do better, everyone.
Several people stir, some clear their throats. The biting wind rings especially loud among the silence where nothing but crickets speak.
Thank you, Sister Margaret. How insightful. Anyone else?
Good. Priestess Elizabeth skips over a few raised hands and opens the massive leather-bound book in front of her, removing a quill from her robe and placing it beside the pages.
Shall we officially begin?
She beckons with a finger for 3 sisters to enter the clearing, hauling a long log resting on their shoulders. 3 bustling burlap sacks hang between them. Chitters of excitement roll through the scores of onlookers.
Do you smell their purity, sisters? Clean of body and soul for our pleasure alone.
Sinister sounds of delight follow the announcement. Someone in the middle of the pack raises their hand.
Yes, sister?
Mary, she responds as she stands. I'm new here. Are those children?
More or less. They are young enough to satisfy our needs. Moving on.
We're not going to eat them, are we? The priestess exhales sharply and massages her twitching eye.
No, Sister Mary. We aren't going to eat them. That would be repugnant. We are going to grind them into pulp under stone and use the extract for other purposes.
Sister Mary sits at last as others cheer. Priestess Margaret motions for the 3 burlap sacks to be hung over the fire, kicking and stirring restlessly from the growing heat beneath.
In only a few short moments they will all be dead. Die! Die like the cattle you are! Die for our needs!
The priestess cackles as the woods erupt. A scream escapes one of the sacks, but the sound is inaudible over such raucous cheering.
Ah, yes! I can feel your excitement tonight. And why not? It has been quite some time since we have bagged such a haul.
She continues, reaching into her robe and pulling out a small glass jar.
The means to an end, right here in my hand, and what these 3 will amount to once they are boiled over an open flame. We want some, priestess,
an unknown voice bellows.
Share with us.
Another follows.
As I will, soon as they are cooked. In the meantime, this portion is reserved for me.
Priestess Elizabeth stops mid-sentence on a dime with the jar raised to her lips as a flaming arrow shoots through the blackened sky, through the glass, and into her throat. The liquid potion inside the jar ignites and engulfs her upper half in frolicking flames as she gags on the projectile, piercing the back of her throat. Silence and gasps of horror roll through their midst as every member watches their priestess and leader choke to death and writhe in pain before them. Elizabeth had always been one for pageantry, but is this another instance? A dramatic prank for show? Or is she truly dead? Their questions are quickly answered with 3 more echoing snaps ringing through the valley. Sisters Agnes, Wanda, and Sarah Low priestesses serving under Elizabeth drop to their knees and desperately gasp at open air for a breath which does not come. 3 arrows, one for each, burst through the back of their heads and stick out their open mouths now. Chaos and bedlam erupt as each remaining attending sister panics and dives to the floor while their leaders fall like forsaken fruit flies. They all seek makeshift shelter under their seats, tables, and whatever else happens to be in their vicinity. Some dive under fallen tree trunks, while others hide inside rotted wood to bunker during the unforeseen assault. A hooded figure stands dark and cloaked in the clearing, another flaming arrow ready for their disposal. Every offender disappeared, as they do, and none the easier to dispatch in this state. Pity. Would be nice to take them all out in one easy swoop, but life doesn't usually work so smoothly, at least not in typical terms. One witch raises her head to survey the area and report to her fellow sisters, but a flaming projectile pierces through her ear and cuts those dreams short. The unnamed girl drops to her knees, arrow still impaling her head, causing those immediately next to her to leap up and scatter in panic. The hooded figure is too sharp and waits by the log for them all to emerge, brandishing a longsword between 2 hands and cutting through the first figure that enters into sight directly across the middle, then through the neck to be sure of her death. Several more pour out of hiding, unaware of what happened to the first sister before them. The bodies begin to pile up and release a stench unlike no other, that being the insides of rotten witches. The attacker removes the cloak that had been shrouding her identity to reveal her face from under the hood. A woman nearing middle age, eyes withered with deep bags beneath but otherwise adorned by a natural lively beauty that secretly drives the witches crazy with envy.
Stop her! Someone!
The as-of-now head witch shrieks.
One of you useless sisters get her! Don't just run and hide!
2 shaky witches look at each other, then pop out to charge after their guest, unarmed and wholly unprepared. The woman waits for them to arrive closer, then draws her sword back and hacks through one leg of each just below the knee. The witches drop to the ground and screech at frequencies unheard, frantically grasping for their phantom limbs to stop the pain.
That's too bad. I'm sure it hurts like no other. Poor things.
The woman whispers as she grabs each of their calves and tosses them into the massive bonfire still raging.
You bitch! Our leader is going to liquefy you for mocking us!
One of them shouts as she attempts to stand but falls over onto her stump.
How strange! I don't see anyone approaching. Better yet, I don't see anyone standing at all to help you. Appears you're on your own.
She grabs the loquacious one by the buckled shoe and drags her through the grass while the witch tries to kick with her half leg. Against the outer wall of the fire, the woman lifts the witch and heaves her into it. The second witch, thus far quiet, nearly pops her eyes out of her head, realizing the fate that awaits. She tries to turn and dig her long encrusted nails into the earth below, but the hooded woman grabs her remaining shoe and overpowers her.
Wait! Wait! Aren't you going to let me say any last words?
You just wasted your opportunity. The hooded woman lifts the second witch above her head and lobs her into the fire to boil alongside her friend. Silence falls over the party that just was, with nothing to be heard aside from the blazing flames. Slight footsteps begin to creep toward their hiding spot as the current witch in charge, Belinda, cowers and grips her robes even tighter than before. An ominous figure lands on her position with a thud, causing Belinda to jump a foot into the air with affright.
Don't! Leave us be! I will give you anything! Any spell I know, all for you!
Belinda squeals with her hands raised. You can't give me what I want. Nobody can. All I can do now is settle for second best. The woman removes a dagger from her cloak and drives it through Belinda's shoulder, holding her in place against the log to bleed out slowly and allow the blade's poisoned coating to do the rest. You won't want to miss this. I borrowed something from one of your wretched sisters. May she burn in hell. She pulls a small jar from her pocket, holding a clear liquid inside it, and walks toward the rest of the hidden witches, who lay behind another fallen tree. Belinda opens her mouth to scream and warn the others, yet the mysterious woman moves quickly and smashes the jar on the ground behind the tree trunk. Several witches rise to run away, but fall inside the plume of smoke emitted from the ruptured potion. The woman covers her face so as not to lose consciousness herself, then leaps over the log and swiftly removes several heads with her sword, while Belinda watches in horror. Only 5 witches remain in sight alive with head, 6 counting Belinda. The woman drags them out one by one and lays them at the base of a massive oak tree with thick branches overhead. She walks through the darkness to her burlap bag of supplies and removes a sturdy-looking noose made specially for these witches here tonight. She wraps the knot around the first unfortunate witch on the ground, tossing the long side of the rope over the tall branch and yanking it hard. The sister stands forcefully and gasps for breath with bloodshot eyes, clawing at the noose around her neck as veins begin to bulge and the hue in her face turns from crimson to purple.
"What do you have to say, sister?"
The woman speaks, loosening her grip to lower the witch down to solid ground, but giving it a short tug as a reminder.
"Sister, please, we're innocent."
She wheezes through involuntary tears. "You're innocent? Out here in the middle of the night? In the middle of the woods, being innocent?"
Yes, of course. What is it thou believes us to have done?"
Sister Margaret slips in dialect, and the cloaked woman only grins ear to ear beneath the luminescence of the full moon.
"Thou? Oh, sister,"
she whispers, pulling a small glass jar from her pocket as Margaret's eyes bulge again for an entirely different reason.
"Thou hath committed so many sins, I cannot even begin to recount them here, witch."
She yanks Margaret's head back by the hair and pours the bottle of holy water down her throat, holding her hand over the mouth to force it closed and dropping them both to the ground. Margaret lands on top, while the woman has her unoccupied arm and both legs wrapped around the agonizing witch, staring up at the stars and feeling bliss course through her veins as the holy water delivers its justice to the witch from the inside out.
"Do you feel that?"
she whispers in Margaret's ear.
"Of course you do."
Blood pours from her nostrils and both corners of her eye sockets, but the woman pays no mind.
"Your suffering is nothing. Your sister's suffering is nothing," she continues. "I revel in every agonizing second you struggle and wish for death. I eat it up. I eat it right up. If only there was a way to keep you from dying so I could enjoy this longer. I hope you're miserable, wench, but then again, I know you are."
Margaret's kicks and jerks devolve to twitches and ticks, then finally, stillness. The woman plops her on the ground adjacent and stomps the heel of her boot into the fallen witch's nose. One remains in place, Mary, seated on a stump and watching the events take place with an empty expression. She doesn't even flinch upon Margaret's facial obliteration, but keeps her eyes trained on the crusader approaching her now. "You, why haven't you run?" she asks Mary.
"Run where? Where is there to go in this forest? I wouldn't survive until dawn myself."
"Very well. You wish to die here, then?"
"If it's my turn, yes. Better than dying out there."
Mary points to the darkness.
"All I request is for you to get it over with quickly as possible."
She eyes Mary sharply.
"You're not evil."
"You aren't one of them."
"What makes you say that?"
The woman removes another glass bottle from her pocket, pulls out the cork, and flicks a few drops onto Mary's face.
"Why did you do that?" "This is blessed water. Had no effect on you."
Mary wipes the water from her face and stares at it on her palm.
"No, I'm not one of them. You shouldn't be here. Now that their ritual has begun, the witches are bound to these grounds until the purpose of the ceremony has been fulfilled. That isn't going to happen.
Go, before you can't."
"I don't have anywhere else to go. I lied to Priestess Elizabeth so she would take me in, provide me shelter, teach me skills to survive. But now that is gone too. Why are you even here?
Keep your voice down. You don't want the others to hear and turn on you.
Well?
My name is Abigail, she sighs.
Witches, their sisters from another location, took my children to use for a spell. Probably killed them. They attacked my home, blindsided my husband and killed him immediately, but left me alive to watch it all happen. One of the witches, though overzealous and young, left me within inches of death just for the fun of it. They all have to die, on principle alone, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to kill them all without mercy, and I should kill you to be on the safe side. But you are someone's daughter too, no matter how lost you are. That's tragic. I'm sorry. But you can't just kill an entire group of people, can you? What if there are some out there like me, who don't want to be there but have no other choice? A worthy price to pay. There will be innocent casualties, although the welfare of the greater good will benefit far more this way. Look at these 3. She points to the burlap sacks. I have saved their lives tonight. Had I killed you, that is still a win. 3 innocents rescued against 1 loss? No offense. No, I get it. Fair enough. I can't stop you. It would not have been a complete loss if I was killed, especially to save their lives. Whatever you've done, whoever you are, it isn't a drop in the bucket to the evil these creatures have inflicted on their victims and their families. Abigail replies, even the worst of us humans, we aren't capable of falling to the depths of these witches. It just isn't in us. That's what makes you one of them. They would have found you out soon, you know that. There's a stench they carry, and you don't have it. You may have been able to fake it until now, but not for long. One could almost be fooled into thinking tonight was a nice night. Mary speaks after a long silence between them. The sound of a roaring fire blankets the nightscape. Crickets and owls echo through cool air. There are more witches hidden inside that tree trunk. It's hollow. I watch them crawl inside. Abigail stands with conviction, nods at Mary, and heads toward the log silently. Kneeling next to the opening, she shoots her arm inside to pull out a black-buckled shoe attached to a clawing witch. A row of gasps escapes the fateful tube.
Save me, sisters! Please! Help me!
Abigail drags the struggling witch over rocks and sticks while the others pour out of hiding and scatter in all directions. She lays kicking and screaming on the ground as Abigail grabs the back of her robe, lifts her high into the air, and lobs the sorceress flailing into the fire. Silence overtakes the area, all witches freezing in position. Warbling shrieks of despair escape the flames as the witch leaps up to attempt an escape, with the skin melting from her face and a putrid off-color smoke filling their sky. Abigail stares with the rest of them, unable to remove their eyes from what may be the fate of nearly everyone still standing within shouting distance. Chilling air, nearly imperceptible to the human psyche, yet the witches break down under the crushing gravity of their hopeless situation.
Listen up, bitches. My name is Abigail Walker, wife and mother of 2. Those 3 people, my husband and 2 children, they were brutally murdered by a separate sect of your sisters, and as such, this is your responsibility. The pain I have been made to feel has been indescribable and greater than any human should be forced to endure. However, I have great news. You are not human, and your suffering will be immense. Welcome to your private hell, sisters, for tonight you are all going to fucking die.
Chaos erupts as the witches still standing tear through the clearing like headless chickens on an errant mission of guideless survival. Mary dashes behind a tree. Abigail closes her eyes and breathes in the adrenaline rush of another sisterhood falling victim to rightful vengeance. Yes, Enjoy your last breaths, the final beatings of your hearts before their energy goes dim. The witches are powerless without their most useful asset, time, of which they have little left. Abigail opens her eyes and glances at the tree hiding Mary, who is poking her head out to witness the slaughter. Pulling 2 gleaming daggers from her robe, she smirks at Mary and floats into duty, the obligation of a righteous mother done wrong to avenge her fallen family. The first witch within striking distance succumbs to a knife slice on the side of her neck, dropping to the ground, howling in horror as she presses both hands to the spurting wound. Abigail lifts her into the air and tosses her into the fire beside another smoldering sister. The second witch, petrified in position like a fear-laden tree stuck in a state of stone, halts in her tracks with a mouth agape at the approaching warrior. 2 quick cuts and down she goes, and a heap of blood secreted from both of her inner thighs.
Are you frightened? Poor thing. You look terrified.
Probably very similar to how my daughter looked, wishing for her mother. I couldn't be there for her, but I'm here now, and your pain will be over in seconds. The second witch is propelled into the inferno, growing exponentially with each enchantress it consumes. The yellow and orange hue takes on a blue and greenish sheen. The third, fourth, and fifth witches are vaulted into their burning tombs, flailing as they land on a pile of charred and ashen corpses. Witch number 6 puts up a fight, attempting a spell upon Abigail as she approaches, but ultimately succumbs like the rest as her organs are forcefully penetrated several times by both silver daggers before she is able to recite the words. The same smell secreted from the fire now invades Abigail's nostrils again, although she can't be sure if it is coming from the stab wounds or cinders. 6 shivering witches remain standing meekly in a half circle around Abigail, who sheathes one of the daggers to form a fist, holding firm in her position. The first sorceress loses her nerve and screams, charging toward the scorned mother with reckless abandon. Abigail deftly sidesteps and hammers the dagger down through the top of the skull while the witch gurgles mindlessly. She rips the knife from the head and angrily drills it behind the ear for good measure.
Next?
One of the witches, the one who appears to be youngest, begins to weep and runs for the dark woods away from the safety of their massive carcass fire.
Sister, no!
The eldest witch warns, but she is too late. The rookie runs headlong into the enchanted barrier and evaporates into a cloud of drizzling sanguinary soot and sinewy tissue raining down on the bewitched territory. Each of the 4 sisters drops to their knees in a panic, trembling too heavily to move any further. Abigail walks to the fallen which is closest and lets her off easy. She slits her throat and yanks her neck nearly completely around. The second witch, a bit less so, is stabbed through each of her closed and sobbing eyes before having a wooden stake driven into her vacuous heart. Abigail tidies the area by dragging them both to the fire, but leaves them laying at the edge of the flames to burn slowly. As for you, she says to the third witch, who drops to her hands and knees before her.
Please, I beg you mercy, sister!
Sister? Did you or your sisters show my children mercy when you slaughtered them like animals? She seethes, driving the dagger between the begging witch's ribs, whose shrieks escalate tenfold.
Or my husband? Did you serve him with the dignity a righteous man deserves? Did you allow him to pray a final time to make peace with his Lord?
Abigail's hand shakes while her breathing intensifies. Mary stares from the tree still, in disbelief of what she is hearing. How can such a fair woman carry such rage? Is she part demon? This unexpected visitor could have ended Mary with the rest, yet took pity on her for possessing a neutral spirit. Did she see potential in the young wanderer to do good? Or had she simply not been tainted yet?
I know what we'll do. Yes, you are already in position for it, so shouldn't be a big deal. We are going to say a prayer together for my husband and children, to bid them safe passage and hope they find peace.
No! Anything else? I beg you.
Yes. Repeat after me.
I can't. It'll be too agonizing.
You do not know pain until you face the wrath of a vengeful mother, sister. This is only the Lord's penance. Now repeat after me, Abigail demands. Our Father which art in heaven.
Our Father,
She winces through anguish.
which art in... I can't.
Say it.
It's too painful.
Say it.
Abigail shoves her face into the dirt, grasping her hair. The young witch mutters, muffled and pained.
Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth,
Abigail whispers.
Thy kingdom come. They will be dead.
The witch gurgles as Abigail stomps on the back of her neck and wrenches it upward by a handful of hair. The snap of the spinal cord rings throughout the forest, and she releases the head to splat into the dirt beneath.
How foolish of you to think I would allow you within even an inch of salvation. I am not holy. I do not forgive. Burn.
Abigail drags the witch by the hair and back of the cloak, then heaves her into the open flame, which is now blazing higher than it has so far. After what felt like an entire night of hunting, she inhales deeply and exhales through her nose. Staring up at the luminescent stars for clarity, Mary was right. It is a beautiful evening. Only one wench remains of the entire coven, a successful mission by anyone's standards, although there is still work to do. So much work, and it is time to be traveling on to the next.
Witch! You are the only one still breathing.
The lone survivor attempts to sink even further into the earth, sobbing and shaking, for she had been forced to witness each sister's demise before her, breathing in the pungent stench of their burning essence. Abigail stomps over and kicks her onto her back.
Stand up and look into my eyes,
She commands. The witch rises weakly as she is told, staring into the deep and gray eyes of the woman above her.
My name is Abigail Walker, as you may have heard before. What's my name?
Abigail.
Abigail what?
Abigail Walker.
The witch wheezes.
You remember that. Abigail Walker. And what happened here tonight?
You killed our entire coven.
Yes, I did. Everyone except you and Mary by design. You are going to run to your leader, whoever that is. But you are going to find someone ranked higher than yourself, and you will tell her what happened here. Tell her I'm coming for her, too. Tell her I will do the same to her coven. I will kill everyone there, then move on again and again until you are all dead. You won't know when it will happen, yet you will always wonder right up until the second it is too late. Now go! I release you from your oath, she shouts, kicking the witch in the backside. See you soon.
The witch scurries through the carnage and disappears into darkness, carrying the message to her distant sisters. Another job well done. Scalded witches and scattered bodies. Thus for tonight, the world is a safer place. Abigail sits on a log and ponders these events before taking a big stretch and opting to walk away at last.
You're just going to leave me here?
Mary clamors as she runs from behind her tree of safety.
Haven't left yet, have I? You were about to. I don't have any business left here,
Abigail answers as she straightens herself up in preparation.
You were going to leave me.
Leave you here where you belong?
Yes, I was. You're a lost soul, who some would still consider a child. I don't have a life left. This is my life now. And what do I have? I never wanted to be here. But once I was accused of being a witch in town, what other option did I have? No trial, no jury, Only public opinion that Mary is a witch and should be hung with the others. I have nothing. I am nobody.
Mary relinquishes.
Let me help you. I know and you know you will not survive forever living a life like this.
Never crossed my mind.
I'm serious. Let me help you.
I'm not sure you have the fortitude for it. And to trust you in the heat of a siege? What if you fail me then?
How do I know you have the stomach for it?
Abigail chastises. One of the fallen witches stirs and claws into the dirt to propel herself forward, painstakingly, inch by inch. Mary marches over commandingly and stomps her heel into the wounded witch's head, caving it in, all while staring at Abigail, stone-faced. Neither of them moves. The bonfire rages in the background. Abigail bursts into laughter, staring at Mary's display of commitment, her foot still stuck inside the witch's skull.
Fair enough. I need someone around whom I can trust. Go ahead and start tossing the rest of the bodies into the flames while I load up and set these people free. I'll help you finish when I'm done. They'll never know what hit them.